Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Little Things, a conversation series about the small moments, gestures, and details that shape our days and leave an impression. Sometimes that's a quiet ritual, a handwritten note, a moment of connection, or a spark of creativity. This podcast is about those moments and the people who understand just how much they matter. Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Little Things. Today's guest is Khodara. Claire is one of those people who instantly makes you feel calm when you're around her. She's deeply creative, incredibly warm, and someone who really notices life. The details, the energy in a room, the way people connect, and the small moments that end up meaning everything. She has a pretty stellar resume as well. She's a recording artist, the founder of STARROCK Productions, a global booking agency for live talent, and the host of You Good, a podcast where she has honest conversations about life, identity, business, and connection. And on top of all of that, she's the mother of 4, an autism advocate, and someone who speaks about motherhood and growth in a way that feels really honest and grounding. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. What an intro, baby.
Well, it's easy when I am talking to someone so fab.
Oh, thank you. It's so nice to be here today to have this conversation.
I feel like you're someone who really notices life, the mood in a room, people's energy. Have you always been that way?
I have. I was raised very consciously with 2 parents who were deeply spiritual. And having that awareness and that example has shaped how I interact with people. I notice people's energy. I really do. And I don't always pay attention to their toxicity, although I should. But the energy doesn't lie, and you can read an energy before somebody opens their mouth. And I was taught to read and communicate and understand and learn that energy. And then later in my adult life, protect my energy.
That's a valuable lesson because there are so many people who or people who will disrupt your energy. You've got to protect it. Like that's one of the most valuable things, keeping your peace. And I feel like personally, I've grown into that the older I've gotten, right? Like don't even let things bother you. It's not worth it. It's not waste of don't waste your time, your energy, your mental space. Just let it go because it's too hard to consume everything that other people have going on. Like, I don't know.
100%. As the older we get, the more we have to protect. The more babies we have, our relationships, our family, our partners, the relationships that we've developed. And truth reveals itself in time, and people reveal themselves in time, which is beautiful. But I think a lot of people live in chaos because they don't listen to the truth. And just as you said, they don't protect their peace. It sounds so woo-woo to protect your peace. But like if you break it down, what it actually means is have a chill, relaxed day that flows one thing to the next and make decisions based on your energy. What is energy? Like how you feel. That gut feeling, that weird feeling that you have in your gut with that person probably should start distancing yourself from that relationship. It's your boss, they pay you. Just try to find some sort of boundary there, I could ramble about it, but it's so important to protect your peace and to hold your energy sacred because through doing that, you can live the life of your dreams.
That's the goal, right? Everyone's goal. And your intuition is always right. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? You may not act on it immediately because that could feel really impulsive, but your intuition doesn't lie, right? And,
No, and everyone is an intuitive being. Oh, how do you listen to your intuition? What are you talking about? Have you ever had goosebumps? It's your higher self. It's your angels. It's another consciousness, another dimension reminding you this is it. This moment is ecstasy. This moment is the best you're ever going to get. When you hear that song in the car and you're alone and you're feeling that ecstatic moment, that's bliss. That's enlightenment. That's birth. That's death, and like just reminding all these little mini moments that we're feeling throughout the day make up your life. Your focus is your success. So like focus on your energy, focus on protecting your energy. And this doesn't mean to be like a cold bee. right? It means just like saying no and always smiling, always loving, but understanding where you want to go and protecting that boundary.
Love saying no. Sometimes that's like the most freeing, clarifying, like, and it's not, no, I can't do that right now, or no. And you know what? I don't even make excuses anymore. Like, I don't even say because of this or because,
You don't?
that's not for me. I can't do that. Or, you want me to go out really late, not having dinner really late, like all these little, and it seems silly, but it's very, once you start doing it, it becomes so much easier and freeing. It's like,
Oh, I like that.
I can't do it. And I am happy. I'm happy saying no, and that makes me even happier to enjoy the things I say yes to, right? You're not dreading the next thing.
Thank you for giving me that reminder that I can just say no without an excuse to. I think that's a real sign of age, of like wisdom, you know? No grandmother, if you think about it, is going to say, like my great grandmother lived to 104 and she was still watering her plants every day. And I can't imagine her energetically saying, "No, I can't meet you at church at 11 because first I have to do this, second I have to do this, that it's just like, no, no, say it with joy. It's a no.
Right. And it can be a positive, and it's not a negative delivery. It's just a no, that doesn't work for me.
Just say no, baby. I love it. I'm writing it down and I'm going to put it on my desk.
What's been feeling especially meaningful to you in your this season of a very full life?
I gave birth 12 weeks ago, 13 weeks ago. I don't know, 12 weeks ago. So just being present with the baby and holding the baby. I saw on Instagram last night as I was doom scrolling before bed. Obviously, I try to keep it abbreviated, but I am human too.
That's right.
This reel of a baby trying to get a mom's attention and the phone was plastered to her face and the baby was crying out. They were at the table and saying like, "I need you, I want you," and subconsciously with the phone on her face, she was giving the message, "You're not enough. You are not enough to have my attention." And then you saw in the next few seconds the phone on the baby's face, and then in the next and smiling and laughing the baby, then, satiated, not needing her mother's attention, and then the baby with the grandparents on a porch with the phone completely ignoring the grandparents. So I just thought, damn, I got to pay attention to my kids more, especially my baby. Like I'm out in public saying, "Oh, how's the newborn? Oh, she's so amazing." It's like it's stressful to me that she's already 3 months because I'm like, am I savoring each moment? Am I living in the present enough? I think, all we can do is hope to live in the present moment. It's tough with these computers that we carry around with us in all of our shared spaces with all the kids. My friend recently said to me, "My husband and I don't carry our mini computers, our iPhones, in any shared spaces in our home with our 3 children because why would we carry our laptops there?" So they stay wherever they stay and they don't go anywhere else. And she's very conscious in how she's raising her kids. I have not been successful in this, but I've relayed the message to my husband and we are definitely going to make a concerted effort to do that. So in essence, it's just because kind of like a long-winded answer, but just to stay right there, stay present with my kids, especially my baby.
Thankfully, my kids, I mean, the phone was a thing as my kids are 19 and 23. And it was a thing. It didn't have every single thing on it. You know what I mean? Like, so I was on my laptop and things, but the access that you had on your phone when I was in the middle of raising my kids wasn't as dynamic as it is today. And I mean, I'm a doom scroller for sure at night. I scroll and read and see what's going on and whatever and look at all the fashion and the style and all that stuff. But I feel like there was a time when it was much more innocent,
Uh-huh.
and my kids didn't have phones until they were around 13, 14. And I made a conscious decision to do that because there was nowhere they were going to be that it didn't matter, right? Like, they went to the same elementary school, they went to the Anybody, I always would say to them when their friends were getting them, I would say, you know what? There's nowhere you're going to be that someone can't reach me that I know well. Like pick up the phone and, because they were, of course, like, what if we need to get in touch with you? I'm like, you don't need to get in touch with me. There is an adult there or someone else who can reach me if there is a need, right? And you can go to the school phone and pick it up if I'm running late or if you need to leave early or whatever. You don't need it, but there is such a switch that goes off mentally for them when they have that access. It's such a time and distraction. It's interesting. I don't know. You're not there yet probably with any of that,
Oh,
but
no, no, no. My children don't have Apple Watches or anything. I mean, they have nothing. They have nothing, and I am not gonna do it. I'll give them a flip phone or something at, like, 13 or 14, but everyone says I'm gonna cave, but because I don't know, I run a tight ship and I'm pretty strict about certain things. Like, it's my son Winston has had so many gains. He's on the autism spectrum and he's had so many gains and he's gonna like run the world one day because I think, or not, or be put rockets in space or pick flowers or discover dinosaurs. I don't know what he's gonna do, but he's gonna do something great because we have to be so militant about that therapeutic time. And so if I can do it with that and lifestyle, I'm like, I'm gonna just keep the phones at bay. They're already like, we're gonna do a lemonade stand because we want to buy iPhones. And I'm like, they're not allowed before 18. You can save your money and buy one, but it's gonna stay wherever it's gonna stay.
that's a yeah, good. And the pendulum has swung back where parents are more conscious and there's so much data that you can't refute coming at you all the time about the negative effects of the phone and the iPad and all those things that kids encounter that I think that parents are becoming a lot more aware and waiting and really for forcing kids to experience life and not use that as just a placeholder, really, because it's all it is. It's like a placeholder.
Yeah.
We can do
Yeah.
better
And we
always.
do do better, and we do do better, and, I think we have so much wherewithal that we need to be the leaders in this and say no. I mean, your ship has passed, your kids are in their 20s, so they're already like little humans, and you've been able to raise such successful kids in a world of abundance, so you should be really proud of yourself that your son who's graduating from college is having an incredible job. Like, that's the goal, babe, to launch your kid, from high school to college, college to a job to a marriage. I mean, not everybody needs to get married, but everybody needs to be dutifully employed either by themselves with like their own entrepreneurial journey or something else. I see the wealthiest people bored out of their minds and depressed because there's no duty there. There's nothing to wake up for. So congrats to you. Serious congrats.
Thank you. You know what? I always wanted to just raise nice kids, good people. And like the job and the path that he's taking is icing on the cake. But I do think there's huge value in going out and working for someone else, right? Being told what you're doing wrong, being on a tight timeline, being held accountable to someone else. They have responsibilities within your home, all those things, but being accountable to someone else really teaches you all of the things, all the life skills in one. It like accentuates everything. I can't wait for him to go to work and experience this because it's going to be, in college, you're on your own timeline, you're doing this, you're doing that. No, you work for someone else and that discipline and all the things that we taught you growing up is going to come together at one time when you walk through those doors every day. So I'm excited to see that for
I
him and
know
see how
no one's gonna remind you to put your napkin on your lap. You're gonna have to do it yourself.
exactly how many times do you repeat all those basic things and it's sinking in, but you just want it to go out into the world and happen, right?
But speaking about the little things with raising humans, my husband always said, we have a neurodivergent tribe, autism in Winston and ADHD with Constantine. And you see, there's so many gifts. Like, I want them to be like that. But, a lot of people make amends when they get a diagnosis with a kid, which is fine. It's their interpretation. And my husband is so traditional. It's annoying sometimes, but it's also great because he holds the kids in a certain container to rise to the occasion. And he's always said if they have basic manners, like they treat absolutely everyone the same. Doesn't matter who they are. Always open a door for someone, especially if it's a lady. Napkin on their lap. They know how to sit at a table. They know how to eat. They know how to make polite conversation. They're so much further than they can exist in the world. You know what I mean? They're fine. They don't all the other quirks and everything. So those focusing on those little things can take them so far because there's an art to living. There's an art to dressing. There's an art to eating. And if you can teach them the basics so they can create their own art. I don't know. I think, and I think, I think they're well on their way. And you've done a very successful job with that. You've built a lot of community in your home. You've brought in a lot of different people. You've focused on those little things in raising kids. Can I ask you in turn how you did it?
Well, I think I felt always like that was something I could control, right? I knew that I wanted them to have great manners, to represent themselves well, to be able to talk to adults, carry on a conversation with anybody of any, any at any level. I wanted them to have a faith in their life, whether they took that throughout. We felt it was important to give them like the foundational skills of faith. And we spent a lot of time and energy on creating a home where they could have their friends feel welcome to we always entertained that if there was something that they wanted to celebrate or they wanted to get together, we wanted to come to our house because we knew it was safe. We were paying attention to what was going on. We gave them the freedom to like push the limits if they felt that was, as they grew up. But we knew it was safe. We were on top of things, and we had so many parties and gatherings. They did karaoke on a Wednesday in the summer. We really created a community in our house for them. And we really never said no. Like, you want to have people over, even though I'm exhausted and I like to go to bed early. And I know this is going to last until 11 or some 30 or something, 12. Yes, you can. Because I wanted them here. I wanted to know what they were doing.
Yeah.
But I also like their friends. I'd be like, you need to help clean up. You need to, have manners when you're here, be respectful. It's sort of like I felt like that was something I could control and I could teach them. I wasn't teaching them math. I wasn't going to, edit
Yeah.
their papers all the time, but I could teach them manners and know that we were putting kids out into the world who could be respectful and represent themselves well. I think that's invaluable, right? I mean,
100%.
there are just some basics in life that you can't do without. And when you see someone at a certain age that doesn't have those basic skills, it sticks out, right?
Yeah. Yes. No comment.
Mhm. And I see it in adults too. Sometimes I'm like, how did you just do it?" That's another thing.
It takes a lot of time and energy to do all that, and most people don't have time and energy because 'cause they're hand to mouth, which is
Right.
totally, it's just what it is. It's the world we live in.
I think those life lessons, those basic life lessons are just, you've got young kids, you see it. Those are the things that as parents we can focus on and really celebrate. And it makes a difference long term. It really does.
It really does. It really does.
I feel like life moves fast and we know that. What helps you slow down and enjoy where you are besides putting the phone away and the technology?
Breathing, being conscious of my breath, just taking a deep breath and, like, visualizing being with that breath, I think is the quickest way just to check where you are.
I mean, I hold my breath all the time, which is terrible. And I will,
Most people
when
do.
I'm
Most people do. I do too. I mean, it's again, I'm human.
when I'm stressed and I'm doing this stuff, I'm like "Ugh," holding my breath, but I have to focus on breathing, literally just breathing, even not even like, you know, thoughtful breath, just making sure I'm
No, I
breathing.
mean, it's just that's a thoughtful breath in itself, you know? And I think if you're breathing and you're with the people you love, you're winning in life.
Amen. All the goodness. Well, breath and the next thing I wanted to talk about are pretty related. Music has been a huge important part of your life. You've performed everywhere from American Idol. I just learned that you'd performed for two different popes,
Yes,
which is
every Wednesday
pretty.
morning for 2 years, last 6 months of Giovanni Paolo and John Paul. It was funny because when I was in the Piazza San Pietro in Rome, it was like the crowd was like 180,000 people. Giovanni Paolo and Benedict became the pope and everyone was like it was this, I think obviously each pope brings their own culture to the Vatican, but to see that firsthand and to have the honor to open up the benedizione, the benediction every Wednesday morning in Rome was the greatest honor of my life. I was raised Catholic, and I was also raised in a spiritual community called an ashram with a guru. And I still am very much in the ashram today. I still believe in everything they say and do. And I'm a deeply spiritual person. And I don't think there are any coincidences in life. I didn't get into Princeton. You don't know how heartbroken I was. And let me tell you, I had no business getting into Princeton. My brother went there and I like partied there every weekend. I lived in Philly growing up. And then my mom was living in Rome because she was teaching at Temple University. And because they have a campus in Rome. My dad was going back and forth. My sister was in high school there, and I'm not going to college. I'm just going to go to New York and be a rock star. And my parents were like, "You must be smoking the rug. Get your ass to Rome. Take some classes at Temple Rome." And like we hear, there's like an incredible music school, Accademia Nazionale Santa Cecilia, and I was like, "Okay, I'll try out." And it's like the second best opera school in the world to La Scala in Milan. So I just showed up. Like I'm not like I didn't belong there, but turns out I did. And I don't have this huge like treble voice when I sang opera, but it was very sacred. Like it was the voice that came out of me was very pure. It still is today. Like I feel like it's a divine, it's like it's from God, right? It's not like mine. I'm just channeling it. But I was singing a lot of choral music back then from my high school, Germantown Friends School, and incredible music program. So I was really primed and I showed up for the audition. I met Renata Scotto, who's one of still the greatest opera singer today, and she became my teacher. And then I joined a choir, and I sat next to the tenor section. This guy Raimundo, and turns out he was the maestro of music at Vatican City. And he was like, "When you were singing, I heard angels. What do you do Wednesday morning?" And I'll never forget. I was like, "Obviously, cure my hangover." I was 19, but then I got the gig. I mean, again, long-winded answer, but yes, I've had some incredible singing experiences where like all of a sudden there's 200,000 people in front of me and that there's a producer being like, "And go." And I'm like, "Okay."
I mean, pretty amazing stuff with the Vatican. Like,
The
few and far between
Vatican
can say that they sang at the Vatican.
The
That's pretty fab.
Vatican, especially for whoever believes in the lineage that is the Vatican, the Pope, it's pretty dope. It's pretty cool.
My husband and I were just in Rome about 3 weeks ago now, and we met Pope Leo. You know, it was incredible. We went to the papal audience. We were up near the altar.
Oh, was it in Piazza San Pietro?
Hmm.
Was it on a
And
Wednesday morning?
yeah, the Wednesday morning papal
Cool.
audience. We were sitting up on the altar, and the whole
You met
thing. I
him?
met him. He's
So,
darling.
okay, it was opened by someone on one of those 50 feet by 50 feet screens singing an Alleluia or something, or like
Yes.
a 2 or 3 person choir. That was me. Okay. So Pope Leo's from Chicago. Love him. It's just exciting to have the first American Pope too. And he speaks so many languages. He's a very dignified man.
It was humbling. I mean, you know, we could speak to him and say whatever, and there's not
Met him?
very many. Yeah, we met him. We got our picture with him. We spoke to him. And I will say my husband's never without words. And this was a time when I really don't think he like it was just it was really incredible. And we spent a little wonderful time with a Monsignor from Westchester County, and he took us into the papal gardens and we did all these really special things, and it was just like this surreal kind of like you were like floating, you know, that was just it was really special and incredible. And we had actually been in Rome a few years ago and been in the general audience, and that was wonderful, right?
Yeah.
But
It's
this to
all
meet a
wonderful.
Pope and to just the whole thing is and knowing that there is this world within the Vatican, like you said, that is real. I mean, these are people. There are dynamics
Its
and
own
politics.
country. It's its own
Yeah,
country.
its own
They
country.
they have their own mailbox, they have their own passport, the whole 9 yards.
You forget because it's this like wholly dynamic place. You forget that it's it's basically a business, you know. And it's run like a business. It's its own country, like you said. I mean, it's just it's interesting, but it
Well,
was a
I mean,
very
all
special.
religions run like a business, otherwise they go extinct, you
That's
know?
right.
But there's so much beauty in it.
I
I think it's so beautiful to honor the tradition that is Catholicism and the Vatican. And yes, there was some crazy stuff that happened. I am not discounting any of that, but there's also been so much good too.
mhm.
How
You know, this
cool.
is my son, one of my sons, my middle son, he we raised our kids in the Catholic Church. They had all their sacraments. I never talked to them about any of the things that happened in the church. I don't know. Didn't occur to me. Didn't I mean, it wasn't something that they were exposed to it just didn't even occur to me to bring it up to him. And he comes running in the house one day and he's like, "Mom, Mom." I'm like, "What?" He's like, and then he starts telling me all of these things. He's like, "Did you know that this happened in the Catholic Church? Why would you want us to be a part of this?" And I said, "Whoa, okay, hold on." And then
That's
I was like,
good.
I know, it was like, he's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" Like, "I don't know. I didn't even think about it. I'm sorry." Like, then we went through
Also,
the whole
probably because it was being revealed when you were 5 or
right. I
3.
mean, 3, right? Like, it wasn't I don't know, it just and I had my own, feelings about it and had to really, like, evaluate my relationship with the church and think about, what w how that kind of played into my faith and what you believe and but essentially, I just, like you said, there's more good. The Catholic Church has done more good. There are more good
And
people.
your faith is between you and God and the God within yourself and your path. Other people's actions are other people's actions. Just because they're aligned with, the same path doesn't mean that it takes away from your spirituality. Like I married someone who has no interest in religion. So he's like, for me, religion is a disruptor, religion divides, religion controls. And, I always knew I was gonna marry someone who had their own view on spirituality and religion. And I think it was to prove to myself that my spirituality and my connection with God is my own, just to like reiterate your point of like, sure, you can reevaluate it and you should always reevaluate everything in your life, but someone's action doesn't take away from your feeling. Someone's action doesn't take away from your good work and your belief in God, It just doesn't. It doesn't.
Very true. I
It
mean,
doesn't.
there are many things that I think we hold religion on, like, this untouchable parallel, but,
A
we
lot
have
of
to
people do, but a lot of people really don't, you know?
that's but we it's like all of these things just happen everywhere. I mean, I don't know. It's a
Yes, of course, because wherever human beings are, there are actions, like there are human actions, right? It's not like we're living in an enlightened world. We would be dead. We're only here in these bodies because we have things to learn, things to do, things to prove. We have an ego that we need to keep at bay, you know? Otherwise, we just be in the other consciousness. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, heaven, so far away to the good, to the sky." What I realized with my mom's passing is that heaven is right here. It's just in a different veil. It's like in a different consciousness, Like it's all right here. We're all the spirits and everything. I think I'm right. It's all here. The veil is so close. The little butterfly that reminds you of your grandmother or the hummingbird or the rainbow or the coin or whatever it is, And the more you lean into that, the more you see the signs.
I think that's true. I love that when you don't you love it when you see something that reminds you of your mom or of your it's like so it does remind you that we are all here, we are all existing, we are all living, it's not far away. I'm with you. I think it's
I think it's actually impossible for it to be far away after experiencing 4 births, after pushing 4 beings out of me and seeing literally them just 1 second to the next they're breathing, and then watching my mother die 1 second to the next she's not breathing. That's what death is. You're not ending, and religion is powerful as it means to understand, as tools to communicate, to understand where we go after death. and how we go to death and how we live on earth, But when you start confusing it as an excuse to mask your bad behavior, it's absolutely unacceptable. It's shameful. And too many people in too much power with too many religions have acted absurdly. Absurd, you know?
Yes,
And
I do.
no, thank you.
I agree. Yikes. The world.
I truly believe we are inherently good people. Most people like really go against me with this one because there are so many atrocities in the world and you can see them all in real time. There have always been this amount of atrocities, but now we can see them. So we can't let them affect us. We have to create some sort of energetic boundary, But I do think that the soul is here to evolve and therefore intrinsically good.
I 100% agree with you. All these things happened. They've happened since the beginning of time. We just see them on a 24-hour news loop on our Instagram. We're fed all these things. It's what we didn't know what was going on halfway across the world in real time and who was involved and all the details. Like that is where I really like put a hard stop for myself because I cannot absorb all that information and then like lay my head on the pillow at night and go to sleep. 'Cause my mind is spinning and you've got to like take a step back from all that information overload because you can make yourself crazy and become this very negative have this negative mindset. It's scary, everything that happens, but you can't absorb it all. That's how I feel.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure. You can't be about you can because people do it, but it's better to have some sort of boundary. And it's also, you know, I think it's kind of important to be in the know again with certain guardrails. Ignorance is not bliss.
no,
It's really not. It's
no.
really not.
I am happy to be in the know, but I can't go down the rabbit holes because it just fills my mind. It makes me anxious. And I'm
100%.
just over here doing the best I can with my kids and with my family. It's like, again, I
Yeah,
have to go
I'm
back to what
sure.
I can control and like myself in the world, my kids in the world. Like, what I'm doing sometimes feels like I have to dilute it down to that because that's where I am and what I can control and what I put out. So
100%.
motherhood changes the way you experience literally everything. The way you love, the way you worry, the way you notice people. What do you think that about motherhood has changed you the most?
Think I was born to be a mother. I know I was born to be a mother, and I blossomed into my full self the day I gave born to my first child. Now and then, like, I blossomed and it was like there, my heart opened and I'd finally had arrived. And ever since that day, I've been moving through the world in a different way, getting to know that woman that I've become. So, I mean, for me, my 4 children are the greatest gifts of my life, I can die literally right now. I'm not joking because I gave birth to them. I think they would appreciate if I stay alive a little bit longer so that I can raise them. But, they changed everything. I think they reminded me about advocacy in who I am as a creative being, who I am as an entrepreneur, that I can ask for things, that it's okay to be a woman in business, that it's okay to question everything around you always, for their sake. And I did it so much so that I've become such an advocate for myself too in my creative journey. And it's just been the greatest gift. And I really feel fortunate to have married my soulmate, the person that I was supposed to have children with. I really do feel like they are all divinely created and they were all supposed to be here and are going to change the world. And I'm honored to be their mother, really.
That's so beautiful. And you have so much to give them. You can't go anywhere. You gotta be here and continue to pour all that goodness in them. And your insight and your mindset is so joyful. I really
Mm.
love it. Always love talking to you
Thank
because
you. Me
you put
too.
everything into a very clear perspective. I mean, I think that you're very confident and you're very rooted in who you are.
Mm.
And that's so joyful. It really, like you exude happiness and kindness. I imagine growing up in your household is very happy. and calm. I had 3 kids, and for some reason, when I hear that they're 4, it feels like a lot. So, 1 more seems like to tip the scales.
I mean, after 1, like, going from 1 to 2 was like, "Holy I need to feed 2 mouths? Like, what?" After that, it's like, "Whatever, it's a shitstorm, like, sorry." But honestly, this baby has completed our family, totally, and, like, if you're clear about boundaries and roles in the house and everything, and I run a tight ship, I wanna have a 5th, but my husband won't let me.
Oh my god, I went from 1 to 3 because I had twins, and so
I know
I
you did.
was
How was that
I was
experience?
scared. I was scared. I was like, "Wow, who in the world thought that I could handle this?" Um, but, you manage, like, the messy,
God.
beautiful.
God
it
thought you could handle this, and guess what? Turns out you can. You've
it worked,
raised
it worked.
3 incredible kids.
Oh my god, you do you handle what you're faced, right? And I thought, "There's no
Yeah.
way I can do this. I don't even know what's going on today." When I was pregnant, I'm like, I don't even know if I'm good at 1. How can I be good at 3? How can I handle all this?" But you just do it, and it's like beautiful all those little things, like beautiful chaos, messiness. I've forgotten so many things that happened, and the kids will say, "Do you remember?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, yeah, I do remember that." But maybe I blocked it out. I mean, we were messy, we made it through, but some days were smoother than others, that's for sure.
Of course you did. 1 to 3 is a lot, because 1 to 2 for me was insane, and 1 to 3 would have been crazy. So I can imagine you thinking, like, adding more to this. Like, what if it goes 3 to 5? Like, that's crazy.
Been bonkers. I know people who have 2 sets of twins, and mine were natural, so it was a surprise. Like, I found out at the ultrasound, actually, but I wasn't
That was
even
my dream to have twins this last time, but in retrospect, I'm so glad it was Gaia, just her. It's enough.
little nugget. I'm so thankful because they taught me, I mean, motherhood, like you said, it's taught me so much, and I think there's a unique thing about having twins that probably helped me stay sane in a lot of ways. I don't know, there was just something about managing that little tribe that, I just dove into, and that was it. Like, I just did it. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to. You gotta not just keep them alive, but make sure they thrive.
That's right. What's something that your children have taught you about yourself?
That I'm confident and I'm enough. I'm enough. I was like 5, I remember, just so worried at my 5th birthday of who is coming, and I was so focused on pleasing everybody so much so that I spent my elementary years basically saying yes to plans, and on Friday, I would come home crying most weeks to my mother saying, "I'm expected at 3, 4, 5 people's houses tonight," and she would be like, "What?" And I would say, "I just said" I didn't know how to say no. I said, "Yes." So, you know, that was crazy, like, that's like a little lens into how demure and the fact of, like, how much pleasing I felt like I always had to do to be loved, and in essence, it was just like I was worried about being loved, I was worried about being accepted, and then at the root of it is, like, do I love myself, you know? And so I think, like, having kids realize I love myself, and I can say no. I should say no, because people always have their agendas and wanna claw at you, especially the more you build, And, it's natural, but yeah, I mean,
Was there a moment of motherhood that kind of shifted your perspective on life?
yeah, for sure. I went to the, 2-year checkup with Winston, my eldest, who's 9. He was 2. I'm always, like, late for the pediatrician appointments, like, never a care in the world. But I had, like, an underwhelming, steady worry in my gut. I wasn't worried, but I knew something was up. And I said to the pediatrician, think something's up with Winston. He's banging his head when he gets frustrated. She said, how long has he been doing this? And I said, a year on and off. And she was like looking at me like, what the hell? Where have you been for the last year? I had to switch pediatrician and I probably missed a few months of appointments. Anyway, then she said, how many words does he speak? And I remember lying to her because I couldn't face the truth. It was 2 maybe at the time. It was ball and mom. And I said 5 to 10, and she said it should be at least 50. He's on the autism spectrum, most likely. And so is your unborn child. I was pregnant, and I was like, what? First of all, I'd never heard the word autism in my life. Like maybe I haven't had in passing, but it's become such a topic of discussion now because people are talking about neurodivergences more. So I said kind of her projecting the fact that she had 2 autistic kids and whatever. I was so upset with her. I said, "It can't be true. She's delulu thinking that my unborn child how does she know my unborn child?" You know?
Right.
And she said they
Are
learn
there,
from each other. I mean,
there are
she
no
had all
statistics,
but
right?
my
There are no
husband said, "Don't focus on the unborn child." Like, my second child is not on the spectrum, although sometimes he wishes he was more like his older brother. I mean, we all do, Wynn's, like, such an amazing guy. She saved our life in that moment, because from that moment on, you don't know how ham I went with early intervention. I wasn't even admitting it to myself. This was May. It wasn't until COVID the next year, 10 months later in March, when I was sitting pregnant with my third on my mother's a chair in my mother's room in COVID. It was like 5 days into COVID. I had a spectrum kid who didn't speak who was on Zoom therapy. I had a baby and I was pregnant that I was sobbing knowing that Winston was never going to grow out of it. And I was sobbing out of ignorance. I was sobbing just because I didn't know what was ahead. And I had felt so sad and sorry and isolated and alone. But now looking back, it wasn't that moment of admitting it to myself. Maybe it was, but the real moment was when like the veil was lifted and I was told that he was on the spectrum and I knew, my life has been forever changed because I've learned so many things. I mean, Winston and his different mind has taught me more than I could have ever learned at any PhD course. Also, that's the thing about being a mom. They teach you. They're your greatest teachers. And I just like autism is a spectrum, and everybody's different that's on the spectrum. Everybody. And it's like the most beautiful puzzle you've ever seen when they're little. Like it's crazy, but there are a lot of missing pieces to the puzzle, right? They had their sensory stuff. At least this is what we were dealing with. And he couldn't speak till he was like 4. He had a couple words at 2, few more words at 3. We were starting to do sentences at 4. And I thought speech therapy, speech therapy, speech therapy. And no, it turns out occupational therapy was the key that unlocked Winston's speech. So figuring out this puzzle um, is the greatest joy of my life. It's my life's work, and then speaking up for our community and reminding parents that they're not alone and, seeing the beauty in nonverbal kids. These kids are brilliant. They can't speak, they don't have a word, but they're speaking through devices. And what they're saying through the device is better than anyone ever said, to me, so there's so much to learn from autism. Obviously, there's so much to learn from kids, and anything you go through with your kid.
I know that he's a gift to your family, and has to teach you, and especially your other kids, to see things differently, right? Just to be aware and to notice things that maybe they wouldn't notice otherwise.
Yeah, it's so funny. He's the eldest of 4, and like my other kids don't know that there's anything different with him. They just like want to be like him. Because he's the oldest kid and he appears, he's a big kid. He likes sports. I mean, he's great at fencing, at kung fu, at the singular type of sports. But they want to be like him, so he's a real brainiac. And he pulls out facts and his memory is acute and his hearing is pretty wild, at baseball games or he has to wear headphones or he's just like this in a corner most of the time because I forget the headphones. I'm that mom. Like I don't really pad him in his life. But as a result, I can see his little brother who's 2 years younger than him. He's become like a little bit of a brainiac. He just wants to recite things all the time because he wants to be like his older brother. And I recently had the conversation with Vincent. I said, hey, you're on the spectrum. I've told him a few times and it didn't sink in. And then he's like, oh, and I told him like your mind's different and your strengths are much stronger than the average person. And your
which is
weaknesses also are much stronger than the average person. Like you have to be careful. And he was like, oh, wow, I hope Guy is on the autism spectrum, because we were framing it in that way. And I was like, you know what? Life, it's going to be what it is. Guy is my baby. And I don't think she is, but whatever. It doesn't really matter because she is who she is. And, I think navigating home life without treating Winston differently. I have 4 kids and they all have just as much and many needs as Winston does. Winston's are just more appearing, right? We all have needs as human beings, which is why maybe we drink too much or involve ourselves with toxic friends because we didn't get the therapy we needed as children. Let's all blame everything on our parents. Why do all the parents get blamed? I'm
I
sorry.
don't
I want
know.
to stop this now.
We have to stop. I say to my kids jokingly, you know what? You can get therapy for that later, but that's what we're doing right now. This is how it's going down right now. You can get therapy for that later if you choose.
You
I
know
said
you're
that
gonna
to my
pay for it. They're gonna be like, "Mom, you did it to me."
uh-huh.
Like,
Well, you know what? I'm sure I did, but I was doing my best. I didn't know any different. I'm human too, and I make mistakes and you know, no one's doing it better. Someone may be doing it differently, but no one's doing it better. Right? I mean, it may look better on the outside, but in the within the 4 walls, we're all doing what we can.
yeah.
Is there something that has happened, like a moment recently with your kids that you'll never forget? I feel like with 4, there's something every day that you could cherish.
Seeing the 3 big kids meet Gaia at the hospital a couple hours after she was born was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. Yeah,
And
it
she's
was
your
over and
first girl.
they were like, "I didn't know she was gonna be so cute." Like, just seeing their love for her, um, as a mom, it just makes you explode, your heart explode, and people often tell me, "How are they with her?" And they're so good. They're so great. Like I don't have help on Sundays and because I want to like, raise my kids. My brother's like, "Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Because I like it's my life and I need to like know what my life is like. I can't just scaffold it all the time and just work myself to death." Um but seeing their love together reminds me that, like, the container that you nurture at home really dictates your family culture. So when people ask me, like, how are they with them? Of course, it's loving because I make it be, because I create that environment where everyone's welcome and everyone's seen. I don't do it perfectly. I'm human, but I make an effort to do that. Like that's on the top of my to-do list, And then when people say like I didn't get along with my sister or, I don't always get along with my sister, but we always try to work it out, you know?
I agree. I was telling, there was something that came across my Instagram, one of those quotes or something. And it was about like it was a mom kind of speaking to her kids and it was something to do with, I'm not going to be here forever. And when I'm gone, I want you to know that you have each other, that you can rely on each other, that you can trust each other, that your people will come into your life, spouses, your children, whatever, but you were the start, like you were the beginning, and this is what we nurtured as a family, and take that with you. Take your support of each other with you, which is a beautiful thing. I'm an only child, so I didn't have this sibling experience and my husband's one of 7. So when I went to his first family dinner that I went to, very traditional Catholic family, wonderful family they had for years when everyone was still living in St. Louis, had family dinners on Sunday. And when I went to the first one, I was like, oh my gosh, like everyone talks at the same time. Just inherently they're loud because, there's just so many of them, everyone's talking, everyone's da, da, da. And I was like overwhelmed. And then I got used to it and like would chime in. And then, I look at my house, my kitchen table, whether it's just my 3 kids and my husband, or we have friends' kids, the kids have their friends over. It's like, wow, like this is like your environment, your nucleus, what you want them to come back to. Like, sometimes those little moments around the table where you're just chatting and chilling, like that's like the fun stuff for me. No pressure, just enjoying each other.
My husband always says it's such a privilege to be a part of a family, a well-functioning family. And with that privilege comes a lot of responsibility. A responsibility to protect, to honor, to keep sacred, to love, and to hold. And it's an interesting dance for me because on one hand, I worry about all my kids. I probably worry about Winston the most if I'm being so honest. And it's gonna be like the joke's on me because I know he's so great and he's will grow into being something so great, God willing, but I'm sure of it. I really am. And I don't want anyone to ever feel responsible for the other sibling, right? And I told that to Greg and he said, "No, no, no, no. They will feel responsible, but it will be their privilege to be responsible for each other because, holding the family sacred and close is it's the most important thing we can do as householders, as spiritual beings, as moms, I mean, just by being a mom, you're a spiritual being. I mean, being on earth, but then take it to the mom level, and to experience life is pretty incredible.
It's a huge responsibility, but one that I wouldn't trade for the world, right? I mean, it's a gift that
No,
we have been able. I think that's like, of course, I'm at a new phase in my life where my kids are leaving the house and I'm an empty nester. But like that was will always be one of the greatest gifts and privileges that I have had the opportunity to experience in my life is motherhood and seeing how different all three of my kids are, right? I mean, I have two boys and a girl, one son that was dyslexic and went to different school, one son with serious food allergies. My daughter has AD because, but like you just sort of like all of this that you just do it. Like, I don't know, you're in
it
the
doesn't
thick and
really
like
matter what anyone is as long as they're feeling seen and getting support, period.
totally. And you're like living and happy and, we do our things. I don't know. As women, I think
Totally.
we go through so many versions of ourselves throughout life that it's like sometimes it happens quietly and sometimes it's like comes in with chaos and all of that. But we're have experienced wonderful gift of being a mom for sure.
It's the best.
How have you stayed connected to yourself and your beautiful career while being such a present mom?
It's a great question. I had the example of a mother who worked and a mother who kept her last name. When she got married to my father in 1979, she was for the most part of my childhood working. Of course, she was present, but she was working Monday to Friday. There were a lot of, those Annie's organic frozen meals being warmed up in microwaves. Um, my parents were vegetarian. They were like totally school of thought from that hippie movement. And they were spiritual and academic. So it was kind of a non-traditional household. Um, but this being said, I had an example of someone who put their self first. My mom always put herself first. She put her art first. She did. Her family was sacred. She loved us. It didn't take away from her love. If anything, it showed us how we can love ourselves in that she was so dedicated to her craft and to all of her students. So, because I had that example, and I married someone who's very supportive of my career and sometimes, like in parentheses, annoyingly pushes me to be my best self every day. Like sometimes you just don't want to. You just want to like eat a tub of ice cream and take a bath. So like I have this role model in my mom and support in my husband. So the scaffolding is there to be able to do it all. I do interview people on my podcast, many women entrepreneurs, and the more successful, they say you can't do it all. And I do largely disagree with them. Sure, you can't do it all perfectly, but who needs to do anything perfectly? Just do it. I really am in the camp that anyone can do it all. It's really not complicated as long as you stay focused on task and you have the scaffolding to do it all, and you're intentional with your time and your energy. We only get 24 hours in the day and I really like sleep. I'm like a sleeper. Like I'm a
Me too.
sleep, 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 sleep. Yes, sleep. I love my sleep. But like, you know, I know we can do it all. I know we can do it all as women.
Sleep enables you to do it all, right? You can't
Yeah, my
without s
sister-in-law said that. Yeah, she was like, "You can have a 4th kid because you sleep." And I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right."
yeah, you could have a 5th kid because you can sleep.
Yeah,
because you and, you know,
100%.
I don't believe I hate the word balance because it's like whoever has balance, who's doing everything so well that you feel like, you know,
What is that
oh,
word anyway? It's like, how
I
do you
don't know.
feel? If it's
Like
like vibes and joy, that's balance. If it's, but we also have to feel dark to feel light. We have to feel sad to feel happiness, you know? So
part of living is the ups and downs, right? And the
that's
like
what
the
living is.
angst of, "Oh, I didn't get that done," or what I mean, it all happens. It all happens well. It may not be perfect, but also perfection should go out the window because what is perfection? Nothing. Nothing. There is it doesn't exist. And I think for me, I guess I should say perfection is when I feel like I've done something well. Doesn't mean that it's perfect or like I've done something complete or I feel like that was, you know, we had a great podcast together today. And so to me, it's perfect. Would it be perfect to someone else? I don't know, but it's perfect to me because we've connected, we've had a real conversation, you know, that to me is perfect enough. That's perfection in my mind. Like who's grading me on this, right? It's like is perfect day with kids that they got up, they made it to school, they had a great dinner, you had some laughs, you had some tears, someone fell. We all made it through the day
Yep.
and, you know,
Okay. How'd you know me?
because I lived like those days on repeat. But like
You know,
that's a perfect
we're
day.
taught compliance at school. We largely spend the first 18 years of our life at school during our waking hours being compliant, and you're graded on compliance. And there's a real measure to perfection at school. So undoing that is important in life because it's just not how life operates. Not like you asked, but for me, perfection is the goosebumps when I hear the song or the butterfly that reminds me of someone who's passed. Or a heartfelt answer, with tears bubbling up, reminding me how much I love my kids, like that's perfection. Those moments are perfection. I mean, otherwise perfection's an illusion.
Perfection is an illusion. And I mean, this is like a whole separate topic we could talk about for years, but I wish the structure of schools would change because I think it's really ineffective. And
They are
especially
starting to change. They are starting to change.
good because I'm out of that.
This
I'm out of
I
that
I
phase.
interviewed this incredible woman, Mackenzie Price. She founded Alpha School with AI. It's quite controversial, but it's pretty incredible stuff. And used correctly, this software can really support a lot of kids, I think. These millennial moms with wherewithal I'm seeing are advocating for their kids in a different way than any generation has. I do think my generation, who is raising these infants right now, are asking different questions and are pushing education forward.
I love that. What are the little things that instantly make you feel good?
I mean, I'm taking this new hormone natural homeopathic pill that makes me feel good. Troda Vitale, if anyone wants to try it. Um, Not putting pressure on myself to breastfeed. Like, and just breastfeed only. I did only breastfeeding for 3 weeks with Gaia, and I'm still breastfeeding. But it's not like this drama, sterile American thing, like, are you doing only breastfeeding or are you doing the formula? It's like this bullshit shame that we live under. I'm kind of releasing that. So that makes me feel really good. It's nice having a baby at 40 versus 30 because I'm just like me, you know? There's like at 40, you kind of like know where you're going and who you kind of have a vision to your past and your future. At least I do. And feels good to be here. Other little things that make me feel good. I don't know, crystals. I like putting crystals in my bags when I go, like selenite cleanses, amethyst recharges, a little rose quartz, and if I'm like feeling I need to warm my heart, like I'm woo woo like that. Just like calling my friends. I have to call a friend at least once a day and just shoot the shit for like 30 minutes. Like my husband's like, well, why do you need to talk and waste your time? And I'm like, it just fills my soul. It is lonely being amongst, it's lonely. And so having that community that's just for you, where you can feel seen.
I agree.
Like Madeline, like I call Madeline and I just I feel seen, she makes me feel seen. She's an incredible publicist, she's an incredible friend, and I'm so grateful that she connected us too.
I agree. Ditto. And you guys have great shared experiences because your kids are around the same age. You have,
Yeah,
it's always nice to go through life with people who can relate to what you've got going on, right? And sharing that. And
100%.
it's important to have that female support, which, I hope my daughter will always be that person for someone and have those people in her life because it's very important, right? You have your husband and your kid, but you need that female support. And
100%.
I want her to be that for people.
Yeah.
What kind of people make you feel most like yourself? The Madelyns of the world.
Yeah, I think people that see me for who I am and not who they want me to be. Um, it's tough and it's rare to find those people, but when you do find them, hold on to them. And people that make me feel lit up inside and joyful, again, like hold on because life is crazy, man.
Yes, it is. All right, before we end, I
Like,
want to do a little rapid fire.
let's do it.
What is a song that instantly changes your mood?
In like Coco right now, like the kids are dying over the Coco theme song. So I like the new guy Somber. 12 to 12 is a good song. Home Wrecker is fun. I mean, obviously I love Beebs. I love so much music, so
So pretty much all music makes you happy.
well, no, all good music. There's some
Uh,
really bad music, but whatever. Who am I to judge?
a smell that reminds you of childhood,
Anit Goutal Gardenia, the perfume that my mom always used to wear.
and a small luxury you've never taken for granted.
My freedom, being an American citizen.
Amen, sister. That is, can't take that for granted 1 second, especially in our world today. Miss Claire, this conversation's felt like a real reminder to slow down and notice what really means in life, what is really important in life, and while we're here in it. The conversations, the energy, the people we love, the ordinary moments that somehow become the ones that we'll remember forever. I love the way you move through the world. You have such warmth, honesty, and intention. And I know people listening are going to feel that too. Thank you for being here and sharing so openly today.
Thank you for having me. It's such a joy.
Thank you for joining me on The Little Things. I hope today's conversation inspires you to notice your little things. Life is full of them, and sometimes they're the ones that make the biggest difference.